Welcome to the Pot.Live podcast. I'm your host, Lenny G. This podcast is all about connecting the community with the thought leaders of business and entertainment in the cannabis industry. As this industry expands and becomes more and more mainstream, we want to educate and entertain our listeners and become your choice and voice for all things cannabis. Thanks for joining us and enjoy the show. If you are into the recreational side of the cannabis industry, yes, stoners, I'm talking to you, then thepot.com is the online and mobile destination for you. That's right, THEPOT.com, thepot.com. Where else can you find the exclusive pot made of the month? Take a pot quiz and win prizes. Scroll through hilarious memes and jokes and check out the latest podcasts, news, and trends, all while having your own profile and voice in the pot.com forum. Visit thepot.com today and get lit. Welcome to another episode of the Pot Live podcast. I'm your host, Lenny G, and today we have a legend. An iconic actor, best-selling author, Grammy award-winning comedian, activist, and part of the legendary duo Cheech and Chong, the legend himself, Mr. Tommy Chong. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Okay. My pleasure, my pleasure. Thank you. Please, no applause. Sit down. Sit down.
I'll applaud. I will applaud for you, my friend.
Oh, no standing ovation, please. No, please.
Well, you look great. I could see you on the video. And for those of you listening on audio, Tommy looks fantastic. So tell us, did you ever think, I mean, we know your history. We know you're amazing media genius over the last few decades. Did you ever think that when you first started doing those movies that cannabis would become as mainstream as it is, on its way to becoming really mainstream in the next few years?
No, not even close. You know, I started smoking weed when it was really called Try This. And, you know, at the time, I was just concerned with what I was doing in the moment. So I had no idea what it would be like in the future. I'm just glad I'm here.
Yeah, it's amazing how far it's come. So when you first started doing movies and getting into all of that production back then, were you rejected by Hollywood? Was it a taboo subject, or were you welcomed?
No, the thing is about Hollywood, if you bring your own money, you're welcome to the club, you know. And that's what we did. We didn't need writers. The only thing we needed was a good crew that understood what we were doing. And it was like the record business, you know. It was nothing formal about us getting into the record business. We got discovered by Lou Adler. He called us in his office. He grew up in a Chicano area in Boyle Heights. And so he knew our humor really well. Most of the mainstream people had no idea what we were doing or what we were talking about, you know. And that's the same as the movie industry. You know, the movie industry just give us our own niche, you know, and we just went ahead and took it. And to this day, it's still the same. You know, there's everybody else, and then there's Cheech and Chong,
Right?
or in this case, Tommy Chong. Now,
Absolutely. I mean, it's amazing. You're synonymous with marijuana on a recreational level, obviously. So I want you to tell us about how you morphed from being a recreational user, and then you had some health issues over the last few years. Did the plant help you in a medicinal way get through any of those treatments?
Oh my God! Oh yeah, it's a miracle. It's a miracle plant for sure. You know, I mean, it's been used since the beginning of time. You know, it really is the first Adam and Eve. You know, it's the only plant that I know of. Maybe there might be others where there's a male and a female. Have you ever heard of anything else?
True.
Where there's a male and a female, and only the females are worth anything.
Right.
it's like in society, you know,
just like real life.
Yeah, males are good for seed, but for fun and joy and for medicine purposes, the female plant works. And so, to me, back in the day when California got a medical marijuana law in place, we were the first ones to do it. Jack Herrera, you know, the great pot activist, he called me up. He says, "Let's go get our marijuana card." You know, so we went to a doctor. We got a signed permission to, you know, saying that we needed to use our marijuana, and then we shrunk the paper down to a little card, and that was our first card. And so with me, marijuana use has always been medical. no matter what, even if it's recreation. It's always been medical, because when you think about it, like in the army or in the military, R&R, which is rest and recreation, is really a medical term. You know, when the people on the front lines got too crazy, that they had to have R&R. And so, to me, all marijuana use is medical.
Yeah, and it's really trending that way as more states are medically legal and people are learning
Yeah,
those benefits of the plant itself and getting rid of that stigma. If they just don't want to get stoned or high, they actually want to use it for their body health and wellness. So
yeah.
it's amazing how it's morphed into that mainstream that we mentioned earlier.
Well, what it does, it goes right to the mind, right to the brain. You see, we have receptors in our body that turn, so it reacts into our brain, which creates everything. Without a mind, I mean, you can live without a heart almost. You know, you can have an artificial heart, but you can't have an artificial brain yet.
True, not yet,
but
not yet.
but you know what I'm saying? So the way it works medically, it affects the brain. Well, the brain controls the immune system, you see. And so when I had my health issues with the cancer, what it did, it calmed me down. But you know how it affects your memory? Well, that's good, because it's the anxiety. Like, our body's trained to fight or flight, like either stand in your ground and fight or run. And when you get into that mode, especially with an illness, your body reacts. And if you react in fear, your immune system shuts down, because all the blood is used into the muscles so you can get out of there or fight. Well, marijuana relaxes everything. And so then the body can function normally. And that's what happens with the cancer. Once your body relaxes, the immune system kicks in, your body naturally fights the cancer and kills it, just gets rid of it. And that's what happened to me. I had rectal cancer, I had prostate cancer. Right now, I'm cancer free. Now, I did the chemo pills and I did the radiation. You did all the medical things, but there again, see, a lot of people, they get lazy and they think, there's something wrong. I would need a pill. I'll just take a pill, then I'm okay. Well, no, it's not that simple. What you have to do when you get an illness, you have to really change your diet, your attitude, everything. Everything has to change. But what has to change is that you have to let your body relax so it can fight the disease. Just like the pandemic that we're sitting in now. It affects people with weakened immune system, basically.
Yes.
Older people that are, that have issues. Young people, for the most part, can fight it and come back, because they got a young body. And it also, marijuana also affects your creativity part of your brain. That's why artists, I haven't met an artist yet that did not partake in one way, form or another, for their art. And athletes, the same thing. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the great basketball player, he extended his playing career 7 years because his use of marijuana. And so, he's well over 40 and he's still playing at the highest level, MVP level. And there's so many athletes in the football field, but it had a stigma because of the racial. See, it was a racist law when they enacted marijuana. In fact, marijuana is a racist name for cannabis. See, all the laws we had that mess us up, like prohibition was all racist. They didn't like the Italians, they didn't like the French, all the Puritans. They just wanted the white Puritans in the country. And so when people brought alcohol, and the reason they drank, I know that I'm going on, but the reason they drank alcohol was, back in the day, water was unhealthy. And so, you've heard of Johnny Appleseed?
Yes.
Remember Johnny Appleseed? He went around the countryside selling apple seeds so they could grow orchards, so they could make cider. Because the water, back in the day, we never had, filter systems. We never had penicillin and all that stuff, but we had alcohol, which would kill the germs. You could live longer with cider than the kind of wild water because, it had open sewers. But anyway, marijuana itself was a racist law. And now we're getting out of that, with all the protests and, the Black Lives Matter protests and that. Racism is now being confronted and in a lot of ways eliminated. And marijuana was part of that racist mindset.
Yeah, it's amazing. It gave a great history lesson on the plant itself and its stigma. And it's just, I go back to what I said when we first started. It's amazing to see it become mainstream where eventually it's going to be like having a beer. It's going to be the same thing. And we're looking forward to getting to that point because it is, God's plant. It isn't natural item and it's not heroin and it's not cocaine and it's not anything that they tried to make it out to be for so many years. And I think a lot of it had to do with that criminal or racist or minority element that they were trying to pigeonhole it for.
Yeah, exactly. And they use it as an excuse to be racist, Like I'm on Twitter a lot and I got a lot of complaints, because what happened, when I was growing up, I grew up in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And I had no idea I was in the middle of like Biloxi, Mississippi. It was so racist there, white cowboys. And they had a thing about, they had conquered all the natives, they called them Indians back then. So I grew up like an Indian. In fact, I found out that I am 8% native. And so I experienced racism my entire life. And so I understand what's going on, but it's not a militant thing. It's an educational thing. I was just watching TV and they're having a big problem in Brantford, Missouri, because they got the Ku Klux Klan and the white supremacists on one side of the street and then the Black Lives Matter people on the other side. But all they have to do really is be educated. When I grew up in Calgary, I grew up more or less accepted. I was in between races. Like I was accepted by the Chinese because I was half Chinese.
Although your dad was Chinese, right? And your mom was?
Yeah. She was Scotch-Irish.
Okay.
And she was 20% native herself. And I'm 8%.
Wow.
That was a big family secret. It cracked me up, man. Because the big scandal in her day, she married a full Chinese guy.
Wow.
But that was, you couldn't hide that.
No, well, back then, any interracial marriage, if you want to call it that, of any kind, was like, whoa, right?
But they kept, including my dad, everybody kept a secret that we had native blood in us. My mother was quarter, 20, 25%. She was quarter. That meant her mother was half.
And you look more of that than anything.
Yes, I'm more native than my brother and I both. And then, where I grew up in Calgary, I started playing guitar with a full-blood Sarcee native, Dick Bird. He was my mentor. Him and I had a little thing going, with the guitars and the singing. It was crazy.
That's crazy.
That I was native. And then I had white friends, white racist friends. And my brother was in a lot of ways, like he went white. He went on the white side. I went black. My first wife was a black lady from Alberta, from Canada, and I had a black R&B band too. And we got run out of Calgary for being black. I thought before, they said, well, the band was getting too popular. And they wanted us out of there, for the holidays. But then when I think about it now, no, they just wanted us out of there because we were black. Yeah.
Those times were crazy. So I'm 50 years old and I grew up in New York, in the 70s and 80s. It was my childhood. And it was just the way we grew up. Like I'm Italian. There was an Italian section. There was a Hasidic Jewish section. There was a black section. There was a, Spanish section. And you weren't supposed to leave your little quadrant of where your, I hate to say race. I hate the word racist. I hate that. But wherever your section was, you're not supposed to cross that cross street into the other section.
No,
that's just the way we grew up. It's not that we hated anybody. We were just told you don't go past this street.
No,
They were told, don't come to our street, right?
that's right.
Crazy, because if you did mingle and you had that sense of community, maybe we wouldn't have the problems we have today.
Yeah, exactly. But no, but that's the way it was. That's it's a tribal. It's very tribal.
Yes.
And like the Chinese, the Chinese side, they were more racist than anybody. They to this day, the Chinese are. I got friends, Chinese friends, that married a white woman, and he got ostracized. He got kicked out of the tribe almost. The Chinese, you very low fun, that's no good.
Yeah, I mean, even if you stay within the white race, right? Like, so I was Italian. I was, not that I was told, but it was like expected that I would marry Italian, and I did. That's just the way I grew up, right? Like, if I had an Irish girlfriend, my friends would be like, "You're dating an Irish? Why are you dating a pale Irish girl? Like, why are you dating that?" It's just the way it was. It wasn't hateful. It was just the way you were brought up,
Yeah. And once they met him, they accepted him. No problem. You got nicknames. Everybody got your nickname, My dad, when I brought home my first black date, a girlfriend, my dad took me in the kitchen and he goes, "Son, she's black."
Like you didn't see her. Yeah.
And I said, "Dad, you're Chinese."
That's incredible.
Oh, we laughed so hard. But then, of course, once they got to know Maxine, my first wife, they loved her to death. And then when I ended up leaving my first wife, then I hooked up with my present wife now, Shelby. Shelby was white as can be, and like, oh no. She's too white for you, son.
It's amazing. It's amazing. I like to,
crazy.
Whether you're black, blue, white, green, red, whatever you are, judge the person on their character. If they're a maniac, then a terrible person, no matter what color they are, they're a terrible person.
Yeah, well, during the 60s, in the age of Aquarius, that joint got passed around between, you got had black lips, had white lips, had Chinese lips, had Indian lips. It didn't matter, and the white guys would start growing their hair long and dressing like natives, and that pissed the natives off.
Oh man, amazing those times. All right, so Tommy, tell us about, I know you have a new venture with 5 Point Distribution and Holdings. Tell us about what you're doing there with your line. And I know Cheech's line is going to be in these dispensaries and have an amazing experience when people go there. Tell us about that.
Well, they're going to be called Cheech and Chong Dispensaries. They're going to have our name, our brand, our stamp, our decor, our touch, our design. It's going to be like you're going to Cheech and Chong's crash pad. Remember the crash pads?
That's great.
We're going to have it. We held back. We got a lot of offers right in the beginning of when it got legal. But we just waited for the right one, and we waited till everybody went through the thing, because especially when you're going public like we're going now. In the beginning, it's such a scam. I was in jail with the Wolf of Wall Street. Remember him?
Yeah, Jordan Belfort.
Yeah, Jordan Belfort. Well, Jordan Belfort's an example of how crooked the stock can be. But what we did, we waited till we hooked up with the right people, like Danny and my son Paris. They're the main guys involved in the company. And so we're going to have our own dispensaries. We're going to have our own decor. Like I say, the decor. It's like going over to hanging out with Cheech and Chong. And then we're going to make personal appearances to all the stores. We're going to be, putting our touch on all of them. And more important, the greatest thing about Tommy Chong brand is that it's the best quality possible. See, the thing about weed, with the marijuana plant, you have all the different strains and that. Okay, that's one thing. But basically, it's either good or bad, or not that good.
Yeah.
Ours is excellent. All our brands are excellent. Because when you make CBD oil, for instance, you got to have the pure. It's got to be pure. You can't have the insecticide, stuff. You can't have all that crap in there. And so right now it's all organic. It's going to stay organic. And so what I can guarantee with my face and my name and Cheech too, is that when you come to a Cheech and Chong dispensary, you're going to get quality. That's what you're going to get.
That's fantastic. Fantastic. Do you know the websites where people can find out more about them? Otherwise, I can put them in the show notes if you don't have them offhand.
No, I don't have them. I don't even know if we have one yet. But it's pretty premature, because what we're doing now, we're getting the investors, and what we're doing, like, I got a lot of billionaire friends. It's funny because no matter how much money you've got, if you don't have a name, if you're not famous, you don't get in the restaurants.
Right,
you don't
exactly.
you don't get any kind of special treatment. So I ended up with all these friends, thanks to my wife, who also, she's like the conduit of my social life. But all my they're billionaires, and a lot of them are Trumpies. A lot of them support Trump, but they just don't talk to me about it, or else they'll get an earful. But they're all investing. They all love our product. When I met them, I think one of the reasons we got into the business is when I started meeting all these guys, these billionaires. They kept saying, "Oh, what do you, come on, I want to invest in your company. What do you got? I want to, they want to throw money at me." And
Right.
so we raised a ton of money right in the beginning. And so, it's going to be so successful. It's going to be crazy. And so if anybody's interested in investing, it's a Cheech and Chong Dispensaries, with the holdings. I don't know the proper name for it yet, but if you're looking for somewhere to put a lot of cash for a good return, and to help people, because the other thing we're going to do too is we're going to make sure that people that need marijuana they're going to get it. But I've been doing that a lot with my own private stash.
Yeah.
I've had cancer people call me up and say, "Hey, listen, my dad's got cancer, so and so, can you help me?" And I turn people on to CBD oils and the good stuff, and the THC and the edibles, or the suppositories, because that's what I used when I had rectal cancer. I used suppositories.
Yeah. Well, actually, they absorb best, don't they?
Yeah, let me tell you, I was on a couple of TV shows. I was on Access Hollywood, was the first one with Billy Bush, I think it was. And he said to me, he says, "So so how does that work, the suppositories?" So I said, "Well, first of all, you get into comfortable clothes, something really loose fitting clothes, and then you put on some jazz music."
Seduce yourself.
you dim the lights. It was, and they're all leaning forward, and I said the same thing on KTLA Channel 5 too. They're all the newscasters are all looking, and they thought I was going to give them some kind of well, there's only, and then I said, there's no direction, because there's only one way to do it, the suppository.
That's great.
I laughed, and halfway through my rap, they caught on, and they started laughing. We had the funny. It was so funny. Oh God!
That's
But
great.
in the end, the suppository really, I still had to get the operation. I still, had to, get the colostomy bag and all that, But I'm cancer free now. But yeah, it is the miracle of all miracle plants, and it's been here forever.
Yeah.
And you don't have to do anything with it. You don't have to do anything but grow it, pick it, and use it.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That's
That's
all.
amazing. Well, I
Yeah.
own the domain mj.com. So having a 2-letter domain, MJ, for marijuana is fantastic,
Sure.
obviously. And I'd
Oh,
love to
great.
promote your products. When you guys are up and running, we deliver in all the states you're going to be in. We have a whole medical section, MJ Medical, that we can promote your top of the line products. That would be awesome to work together.
Oh, yeah, let's do it. Let's
Yeah,
do it. Yeah.
that's great.
Isn't it amazing too, with all this pandemic going down, and they're shutting bars, they're shutting all this stuff. Marijuana clinics are the only
Essential.
essential business. But the only
And they
problem,
deliver. A lot of them.
Yeah, they deliver. And the problem they had up in California because of the banking laws, they had gangs come in and rob.
Yes.
You heard about that,
Yes.
because they had a lot of product on hand. But there again, it's not irreplaceable.
Right.
You wait a month, you got another crop.
Right. Yep.
I mean, isn't it amazing? I used to say back in the day, I said, when it's legal, your grandmother will grow more pot than you can smoke in a lifetime,
Yeah,
because
exactly.
it's so easy to grow. It's such a beautiful plant.
Yes.
I got not a ton, but I got about 4 or 5 up on my roof right now, and they're my babies.
Yeah, it's great.
I love them.
It's great. Well, Tommy, thank you so much for sharing all this awesome wisdom, some history lessons, some of your experiences growing up. That's fantastic. Thank you. We wish you the best of luck in your new venture with 5 Point, and we will promote it all in our show notes, and we'll have it on MJ.com, like I said. So we can't wait to see the successes that you will create over the next few years.
Yeah, and it's going to even be deeper than that. I'm going to. I've got a plan how to save the world with marijuana, but I'm going to hold that back until we get the dispensaries open.
That's awesome. Awesome. Well, you look great. I'm glad you're feeling better, and the best to you. Thank you so much, Tommy.
Okay, man. Take care.
All righty. And we'll see everyone next time on the Pot Live podcast. Have you visited MJ.com? MJ.com is the online destination where you can find everything you need to know about the emerging legal marijuana industry. Where else can you find the latest original content, news, and trends? Connect to a local doctor to obtain your medical marijuana card, receive exclusive brand savings, and have your favorite product delivered straight to your front door? MJ.com has it all. Go check them out.